Hello, and thank you for downloading this episode of REYT, the independent Sheffield podcast powered by Sheffield Forum for everything Sheffield. First, a huge thank you to everybody who downloaded our first episode with Dan Hayes from the Sheffield Tribune. That's done amazingly. It's been so humbling to see. Got into number 7 in the Places podcast charts, which is just outstanding and overwhelming and brilliant. So thank you. This week we've got an amazing guest lined up, who's a comedian, a TV star and radio host, and has podcasts himself. Is such a legendary person on the circuit in Sheffield, has comedy clubs across Sheffield and the Hope Valley and surrounding areas, and tours his own material. Rob Rouse is coming up. But yeah, first I just want to say a huge thank you for downloading and listening to these podcasts. It's really good that you do. If you would like to follow on any of your podcast apps, that means that you get it into your feed when it becomes available each and every week. So do that. And also, if you could leave a review, a 5-star review, would really help us out in all those algorithms and all that boring stuff that everyone talks about, but is actually really important to podcasts. That would be amazing if you could. Share it, tell a friend, do what you want. But yeah, this is an amazing conversation, really funny, with the comedian Rob Rouse. 30 years ago, a bloke came to Sheffield to be a teacher, lasted 2 days and ran off to be a comedian instead. He quickly went on to win the prestigious So You Think You're Funny award at the Edinburgh Fringe. Played bottom in the brilliant TV comedy Upstart Crow. Somehow ended up broadcasting live chicken racing on national radio. Well, we might get onto that. Was recently voted the Comics Comic of the Year. He now runs his own comedy night up at Crookes and other venues in and around the city. The remarkably funny Rob Rouse. Welcome to REYT.
Oh, James, it's a treat to be here. Thank you for having me. Could I employ you to just kind of announce me like that every morning when I wake up? Because it's made me feel quite emotional and very happy to be here.
Was it all accurate?
But I'm not going to pick you up on any of it.
So I guess the first most natural place to start is how you became the world's strongest man and a Formula One champion.
Yeah, well, that was in the very early days. I was backstage at a gig in Belfast and we just finished. I was on with Colin Murphy, who's a comic in Ireland. You've got to look up. He's hilarious. He's massive in Ireland. And every now and then we're lucky enough he comes over here. He's brilliant. And he hosts still, mate, you might do it still to this day, a kind of a night at Belfast Queen's Hall, part of the university. Really fun night. And I remember the tech guy was faffing around with this newfangled thing called Wikipedia. And he was saying, you'll have a page on you. And I couldn't believe it. And this was like, maybe 20 odd years ago. And he said, I can, as someone on Wikipedia, I can update it. So I said, well, we need to sort out my credentials. So we thought, I'll go for world's strongest man. Was it fastest racing driver? I think fastest racing driver ever or something.
Yeah.
And it lived there for quite a few years, because that's the joy of living in relative obscurity, is that these kind of discrepancies on Wikipedia are able to pop up in interviews 20 years later and still throw me a curveball.
The way I read it was you got fed up of people asking you about being a teacher first.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then decided to edit your Wikipedia.
I had a tinker on Wikipedia. But it was a really interesting thing, because when I started doing stand-up, I didn't have a mobile phone. And I remember, because I'd moved to London from Sheffield when I realised I was going to pivot out of teaching into stand-up. And I got a job as a caretaker in like the city in the square mile. And one of the banks was Deutsche Bank. And we were like the people under the stairs. So we were emptying bins, delivering furniture, driving around in a van with an old Cockney geezer selling old meeting room chairs that like to some dodgy geezer for 15 quid. It was a fascinating way of seeing like the capital from the bottom up in a way, having moved there from Sheffield, which obviously the first city, but we'll get back to that. But it was a big move for me. I remember, I didn't have a mobile, so I used to sneak into empty meeting rooms and ring up and book open spots and stuff. So I started without a mobile, no email. I remember setting up my email address at the local post office, which now is the same one I've ever had. Yeah, and it felt like a much slower world in which you had a lot of spare time, or at least in your head. So I could do a totally physical job and write in my own head at the same time. And I don't know if you could do a full-time job now and write in your own head because you're often in your head, in your job. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that. It's like, I look back on all the things I used to do in a day, back in the day.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, how did I fit it all in?
Yeah.
How did I do it?
Yeah.
Along with doing the work. And
well, exactly. It's like I can't remember if I heard someone say it, but they phrased it, it's the lost art of staring out of the window, which is, it's it is an interesting bit of our kind of, our minds, isn't it? Really important bit, but yeah. But yeah, sorry, that's just a long-winded answer to, oh my God, it's been nearly 30 years.
So you originally came as a teacher. That's the question we were avoiding. But I think it really plays in. This is the one podcast that it's relevant to, I think.
Yeah, here. Yeah, in Sheffield. But I've always been really connected to Sheffield because both sides of my mum and dad's family were from Sheffield. So my granddad was a GP in Sheffield, in Broomhill, and my other granddad was a vicar in Sheffield, and they met on the roof of the General Hospital in the Home Guard. So they used to be on the roof watching out for the bombers coming in, and that's where their friendship came from. And essentially, my mum and dad had an arranged marriage. So as a kid, I grew up in Macclesfield, but as a kid, we'd be over every other weekend to see my grandparents in Sheffield. So it always felt like home. And then when I botched my A-levels and general studies scraped me into Sheffield University. So I came and studied here and it felt like I'd just come home. So I'd left home and came home, if that makes sense.
So why teaching?
Because I did a geography degree by default because it was free back then. I could get away from my hometown and Sheffield felt exciting. And it was a brilliant, everything sort of kind of came together in the city. And at the end of my degree, I just had no interest in getting a job for a company doing something that I didn't know what it was. And I thought if I'm a teacher, then at least I could travel, I could have a look around the world and stuff. And while I was at Sheffield, I got sort of coerced into doing a bit of, I did a stand-up gig at the Fox and Duck pub when I was training as a teacher. And it just something clicked in my head and went, I think that might be what I need to do. But I finished my teaching course because in that year, I think I learned more about the world, life, humanity, compassion, and how to work at something that mattered. And I applied all of that to stand up when I got out of it.
Right.
I'd never felt responsibility before, or just and I was lucky. I taught it to at the time very different schools. I don't know where they're at now. I know where one of them is because my son's gone there to High Stores. He did his A-levels there. So I had one placement at High Stores and another placement at Dinnington. And Dinnington at the time was really, really struggling. It wasn't long since the mines had been shut, and I think it was like 90% unemployment. And the kids were really, they had really tough start in life. And I remember it really just struck me. I thought that education's just come at a point in their lives when they got a lot other stuff on their plates, And all I can do is, it was chaos because I was, in the early 20s. I didn't know what I was doing, but try and have a fresh start each day and go back in and see if I could herd the cats. I didn't even realise I could be a comedian. I remember seeing Eddie Izzard at the City Hall when I was studying in Sheffield and watching him just improvise with the laughter rolling up and down the hall and just being mesmerised by it. But I never thought that's something you can do.
So how and why did you get into comedy then? You just did an open spot?
Yeah, well, I was in a play again at Sheffield in the drama group that I'd just been through a breakup and I was moping around the house, and my mate John said that I should audition for a play, but the thought of it horrified me. I remember when I was at school as a kid, the thought of performing terrified me. And I remember once having to come in early at primary school to help tidy up because I'd been naughty the day before. And I slipped over and cracked my head open on the corner of one of those old octagonal tables that are probably deemed unfit to be around kids now. But I cut my head open, had to go to the doctor's hospital, have stitches. And I remember thinking, phew, I've got out of doing the sort of, what was some presentation we were doing in an assembly where we had to pretend to be, it was like a play about ancient Egypt. And I remember feeling the relief that I didn't have to do it. But that might be because pain and pleasure are so close to one another. I just didn't know what it was. And then there was a night when I was doing this play where set fell down and I was the only person on stage and I was a bag of nerves, but the set fell down and I just started talking, supposedly in the character, but it was me, and I got laughs. And I remember thinking, they feel very different from the laughs I'm getting from the play. And I suddenly felt kind of at home in that moment.
So
and then,
was that your first kind of improv that you did?
I suppose it would have been, yeah. Set hands were trying to put all the flats back up. So I just sort of commentated on that, sort of, and stayed in it, and a little penny dropped. So then the next year, when someone from that drama group had said we'd done a comedy night, a charity night in the Fox and Duck, we think you should do it. Then I sort of went, yeah, I'll do it. And then I remember I was sick with nerves, but it was great fun. And now I've realised stage is like the safe place. It's the easiest place to be for me.
Well, I mentioned the improv because you're kind of like a master of improv, aren't you? You're comparing nights. You're essentially talking to the audience and introducing acts.
Yeah, when I host the local gigs, I have to, and because they've seen all of my stuff, because I've done it in bits, and I sort of write the show by improvising basically, and then park it up, and then I do that show, take that on tour, and then work up the next stuff.
So I remember a few months ago, I don't know if you'll remember this, but one of the funniest kind of nights that we had, I think it was a night that Maisie Adam headlined.
Yeah.
But you were comparing, and you spoke to someone in the audience and asked them what they did, and they were some guy that goes around killing weeds.
Yeah, he was a pest controller.
I
remember, yeah.
And he was like, you can't make that funny.
He said, it's not funny. You can't make that funny, pest control.
When you came out for that second intro, like everyone was creasing.
Well, just to explain, dear listeners, what we did was I got Maisie helped me with it, actually. Helped me strap the big plastic container that I put all the equipment in, all the leads and stuff. And I sellotaped it, gaffer taped it to my back and shoulders like a big weed killer hopper. And then I got a mic stand and used a mobile phone charging cable to create like a sprayer end. And then just came back on at the start of the second half. Because he mentioned that he was a pest controller that said we'd had an outbreak of cockroaches or something. Yeah. And I came out spraying the stage. And people fell about. It was good fun. And Nick said, so we can make it funny. But it was born out of, because when I try and MC, I'm not looking to catch anyone out or to, because I think people see a lot of stand-up clips online and they see it as quite a combative thing. I think the nature of social media, which is why podcasts are nice because it's long-form chatting, isn't it? But the nature of social media likes conflict. So things that do well on socials are, you won't believe, or comedian destroys heckler, or someone gets a new arsehole torn off them. But that's never appealed for me as a comedian. I just want to play, really, and escape from everything. So when he said, you can't make that funny, I wanted to prove to him that we could make something celebratory and funny from what he did, and I think he enjoyed it.
It was seamless with the rest of your MCing as well. You were chatting to other people throughout and seamlessly going from one bit to the next as you were doing it.
Well, it's born out of blind panic, James. It's born out of blind panic, and I accept accusations of you should have written something, Rob.
But I think you've just mentioned the point, which is one of the reasons I absolutely love your comedy nights, is that it isn't that combative, like I'm going to find someone on the front row and pick on them for half an hour. It's very friendly, isn't it? It's a comedy village.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I want to provide like a platform for the acts to really enjoy themselves and be able to put really, good variation of acts on. People that the audience might have already know, and then people they might not know, but are going to be equally as brilliant, and create an atmosphere. Like we have a 0 dickhead policy on all the venues, which is essentially self-policing.
Yes, yeah.
Because I think and that all comes from the tone you set on stage, how you welcome people in. At Crookes Social Club with Morris and Lou, they're so lovely, and it's a brilliant venue, and it's part of a community already. So a bit like if you're on the radio, you're a guest in someone's living room. I feel like we're a guest in something that's much bigger than us, which is Crookes Social Club, which is and it's that so many different things going on there for the whole community, and so it's a privilege to do it. So
it feels like a community when we go.
It is,
There's a lot of regulars there.
Yeah.
It sells out. You get some incredible names coming to, and
we've been really lucky
to mention as well. It's not just Crookes, is it? You do the Hope Valley,
Yeah,
a few venues.
we've got ones in Crookes and we've got one in Buxton. We did that last night. Spencer Jones did an amazing preview.
He was brilliant, yeah.
That's incredible. And we've got them in Hathersage, Haslow, Adwell, and Dronfield.
I've been to a few, and it's a very similar vibe throughout. It's nice.
Well, and that's what the idea is. Like, we do them in venues where most of the time people can walk there. There'll be a really well-priced, reasonable bar. And if there isn't a bar at the venue, I've got a license. So, we have like Village Hall pop up through the hatch bar and just put, absolute top flight comics on in your local venue and a reasonable price. I pay the acts properly. I just run it. I try and run it like I would like to go and do gigs, basically the gigs that I would like to go and do. And I think if we do everything like that, then things sort of work themselves out.
Yeah. And to say the acts that you do get is incredible. Maisie Adam, just the week that she won Taskmaster, I think it was. She
was doing Crookes.
She did Crookes. I've seen Rory Bremner.
Yeah.
Unfortunately missed Ed Byrne through illness. But
bless you.
Yeah.
Glad you're better.
Yeah, but friends went, said it was brilliant. Yeah. And you got Joe Lysick as well.
Yeah, Joe's coming, at the end of the month. Yeah, we're really lucky. And then, but I also can't implore people enough, even if you don't know the comics you want, trust me, they're going to be great.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think that's because you want to have a thing where there is somewhere for people to come through as well, in front of a lovely audience as well, because everyone benefits.
I think that's really important. Like I've worked with the music industry a lot in the past, and it's very difficult to get people sometimes to come in for the supports. And people arrive at, like, they'll message and say, what time are you on as a headliner? So it's like 9:30. They'll come in at 9:30, leave at 10:30.
Yeah.
And I've seen some gigs where the support is just incredible.
I mean, I always go for the support acts.
Yeah.
Because I think, like in music, because they know they're not playing to their own crowd. So they're going to absolutely be trying to get it off the laces. Do you know what I mean? They're not. There's going to be minimal chat between songs. They're going to get on with it, and they're going to try and win the audience over. And I think that's really exciting when you're watching a band. Like, it's great. I always turn up for the support acts.
Yeah, you have to for me.
Yeah, totally. It's part of the build of the night, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
and then when the headline act goes, let's do it for the spot. You go, yay! Because we were all there. It's brilliant.
Yeah, you love it. It's like, and that headliner that you're going to see because you like them, they were a support act once. You need
absolutely,
to realise that they've only got there because people went to watch them as a support.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like the sort of economics and capitalism can make people think that it's all a competition.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's generally like bands are excited by other bands, comics are excited by other comics.
Yeah,
and I think that there's so much more kind of cohesion and camaraderie between creative people than the outside world would like us to think. Because there's loads of awards and there's loads of prestigious things, but actually everyone's doing it mainly because they're into it.
Yeah, and speaking of awards, you and comics, liking comics, you got the Comics Comic Award this last year.
Yeah, obviously there's a bit of you that can't really kind of process it, and then I thought I'm just gonna get out of my own way and just go take the flowers and say thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's lovely, and it was lovely because it was voted for by my colleagues.
Yeah, so that's, if people don't know what the Comics Award is, it's literally that. It's comedians in the UK voting for their favourite comedians in the UK at the moment.
So it almost makes me cry when I think about it. So it was really, really lovely, and I look forward to casting my vote for someone next year. And I think that feels like and it made me feel very lucky to be part of just a community of an absolute ragbag of different clowns who all at some point, stuck it all in a bag and moved somewhere to give it a go. And we've survived.
Yeah, it's not an easy occupation to have, is it? It's not a regular income job that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always, throughout my life, I've taken inspiration for how I try and do things from other forms of art and stuff. So I remember when I started out, I remember experience like that fear of being on stage is quite big. So I thought, right, I need to deal with that I need to work out what kind of peacock I am, or it's subconscious. But I remember thinking at the time, I saw Freddie Mercury and I saw Bono and thought, well, they look like they want to be there. So just at least fake it till you make it with some kind of insane level of confidence. So I did that. And that kind of got me going. And then latterly, I remember listening to another really good podcast, and your man Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, might have been a decade ago. I remember listening to on a podcast. He said, "I always remind myself that the creativity owes you nothing," and it just something that just clunked in it. Keeping that one, just that whatever the gig is, whether it's 1,000 people or it's 10 people or it's 10,000 people or it's whatever it is, you've agreed to do it, so go and do it. Like you're doing it for free, and they take any money or concerns or however much it costs you to do it or get there, and you're doing it for yourself and the people in the room. That is what matters, because that's all there is that there is only the moment you've got in life.
Brilliant.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might as well commit to it and do it.
Yeah, so it's such a good outlook on life, and
also that kind of also that unlocks the fun.
Yeah,
the joy of it, like the ludicrousness that we're all in this room, a group of adults with, concerns, kids, mortgages, debt, fears, loves, hopes, dreams. And we're all playing this silly game for a couple of hours in a room.
Yeah. That's brilliant. It's a community, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And like it's all about risk, isn't it? Like I've never, in terms of like creatively, you can't do stand up in a vacuum. It doesn't exist without an audience. So at some point, often people ask comics about, when's the last time you died? What was it like when you died? Or there's podcasts all about comedians' deaths. But you constantly, little bits are dying on a microscopic level all the time. And that's what creativity is. Or if you're running a business, you're dealing with failures all the time. Like it's part of life. Learning to walk is constantly failing, isn't it? Or riding a bike. Yeah. It's balance, isn't it? So you're constantly, like, bits are working differently than they did the other night, and you're doing them different, and you can't ever do two things exactly the same twice. And the room changes, the audience changes, something in the world changes. So you're constantly navigating this kind of unsolvable puzzle, but the joy is that you're playing the game.
Yeah. One of my friends years ago set out doing some comedy, and one of the bits of advice he got, I don't know how true this is, Rob, but one of the bits of advice was, don't worry about dying on stage. It's like, generally, every comedian coming up will have to die about 100 times on stage before they get good at it.
But you don't learn anything from the good gigs. You just go, all right, well, everything felt like it worked tonight. And every single time when it doesn't go right, I always record it, like, in my pocket, just in case that something pops up that I can work on that. And then also, like, if something doesn't work, when you listen to it back or something goes wrong, you can always hear the moment where if I'd have maybe thought that at that point or did that instead, something different might have happened or would have happened. But you can only ever do the best that you can do with your combined experiences at that point in time in the situation you're in. And as long as you've given it your best go, it'll be fine. And also when you record things as well, you always hear that things are never either as amazing as you thought or as bad as you thought. There's somewhere in between it. And there's a lot to be learned in that as well.
A lot of people who think it's gone terribly, to an audience or somebody observing it, it's gone really well.
Absolutely, yeah. They don't know how it felt last night. And likewise, if you like, often people would just like rag on the place they're in or like the audience don't know. Or it's not their fault, or it's not their fault something happened, or it's not their fault you're feeling that way. They owe you. They've turned up. They've done their side. They're already met you more than halfway. They're in the room, so give it to them. Look at this as well. The other amazing thing about Sheffield, built on 7 hills, and you're always at altitude somewhere or another, aren't you? Look, the placemats actually attached to the bottom of cups. That's due to the lower atmospheric pressure, I believe, isn't it, James? Where we are on one of the hills.
Well, you're the geography teacher, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough. I didn't stay in geography, and I probably wasn't concentrating hard enough.
How long was it? 2 days you did in the teaching?
Yeah, I think we're 2 days full supply. And we're talking full supply. I remember one of them was cover. It was on a Friday. I had to do year 9, which any parent will tell you is one of the most tumultuous years. Year 9 in Old Money, 3rd year secondary school. And they were absolutely insane. And it was crowd control. Last thing on a Friday, imagine cover teacher for geography. They saw me coming a mile off. And I remember partway through the lesson, I had to intervene in a fight. I took the 2 boys outside on my other side of the corridor. By the time I got back in, one boy had completely covered himself, whole face, hands and arms, in Parker navy blue Quink. which I explained to him. And I walked back into the room and it was like one of those points where I was at breaking point where I didn't know how to cope anymore. And I just burst into laughter. I couldn't stop laughing because I was trying to explain to him that it was permanent ink.
Yeah.
And he would be blue.
Smurf.
Yeah, he'd be fully smurfed himself for at least a month. But and therein the Blue Man Group was invented. But it was crazy. It was crazy. It was, but yeah, it was just, and I realised in that moment as well, you've got to go and do stand up because I couldn't take telling the kids off seriously because also it was funny. All the things they were doing that I was meant to bollock them for were things that I was doing when I was at school. And internally, I found them really entertaining. And the creativity with which they try and kind of screw over a teacher is incredible. Like just the relentless nature of trying to break some.
I think most parents can attest to that. There's always moments where they've done something, but it's so funny, but you still got to.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? And you find yourself, you're somehow trying to give, somehow explain to your child calmly why this was a terrible thing to do, but it's hilarious, isn't it? And I just thought at that point, I'm too young for this. I can't do this. I need to go and do what they're doing in front of adults.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's some of your early experiences in Sheffield. But coming back to Sheffield now, how would you sum up Sheffield?
I would sum up Sheffield as it's like a giant village. That's how I describe it. Because I remember when I moved, obviously grandparents grew up here. I spent a lot of time in Sheffield with my grandparents. When I came here on my own, I remember getting on a bus and the bus driver called me Duck, the 25p Duck. And I just remember thinking, like, just being called Duck by a fella driving a bus was inherently warm, welcoming, funny, slightly ludicrous, surreal, off-beam. It made it sort of a crack in the unit, a schism opens up. That's a fun thing to call someone who's just got on a bus. It's friendly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I always think about Sheffield that is so nice. It's a big city and it's such an important city, got so much amazing history, and at its heart, it's a really friendly place. That's how I think about it. Yeah.
And that's the second week running we've had somebody with a bus tale for the
segment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dan Hayes from the Tribune in the first episode. He mentioned when he moved to Sheffield, because he wasn't from here originally, he got on a bus and was just so surprised how friendly everyone was, and he was coming into the city and people chatting with people and they're giving him recommendations of where to go and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's something in the DNA of Sheffield. It's got its own rhythm. I mean, all cities do, but Sheffield's is kind of it's a mellow kind of rhythm. It's easy going.
Yeah, I spent kind of 6 months living in London when I was very younger.
Yeah.
And you've obviously lived down there for a while as well, but it's just a completely different world, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, it's a different pace. But at the same time, it's funny, isn't it? Like, at the same time, I think whatever I learned in Sheffield, I sought out bits of that in London as well, because on the same level that, in London, you've got the whole world is there. So you've got people from all over the world who are equally looking for that kind of connection. And like, it's the obvious thing, isn't it, when people go down to London to go, no one talks to you on the tube. You talk to them on the tube, they think you're mad. But I always think, again, with London, like, you've got a situation where people are packed in this tube. Yeah. You've got your nose in someone else's armpit, and everyone's just kind of just getting through that, just dealing with it.
It's not the right environment for a chat, is it?
Exactly. But the fact there aren't constant fistfights all the time, I think, is testament to how well people do get on and how people actually do cohabit brilliantly. And that do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that outlook. Yeah.
It's really civilized, and people are there for each other, and they're dead friendly. I think because everyone in the world ultimately is really, they're all really friendly. That's how we've survived. And I think you learn formative stuff where you live or where you sort of grow up or where you find yourself that then you take forward in your life. And certainly that Sheffield taught me just to kind of be, just be warm to people you've not met before. And it works wherever you are.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree as well. You can go abroad or anything, treat people as you want to be treated.
Best dinner ladies in the world, Sheffield as well.
Oh, right.
I just remember the phrase, do you want soup or fruit juice? from the dinner ladies when I was at Ranmoor before they knocked it down and rebuilt it. I was in cell block H, 3H3. It was based on, I think, on a Scandinavian prison, I believe.
Cell block H would be an Australian prison, surely.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, exactly. But I think cell block H was big in Scandinavia as well. But you're quite right to pick me up on that. But I remember the dinner ladies were great. Do you want soup or fruit juice? And you can't have both because that's 2 units. And and they were so funny that I just remember, again, that was another window into the city. Just how funny the dinner ladies were. And this cavalcade of bedraggled students coming in for their tea. And they were great, the dinner. They were really funny. I remember the ladies who ran Sheffield Library. I'm sure if I sat the, whatever the various tests are for inability to concentrate, I'd score quite highly. And I remember for one of my final exams, I think I stayed up for about 3 days on Pro Plus and Coca-Cola. And I remember started it in pen and I think I finished it in wax crayon. And I remember finishing it down at the library, the geography building. And Sharon and Diane were the librarians there, proper Sheffield ladies who were brilliant. And I remember that I think Diane maybe came up to me and said, I think you need to go home, son. I think you're done. And I was just stood there. I sat in a pair of shorts and that washed for about 3 days.
Bloodshot eyes.
Yeah, writing in crayon. And she said, I think you're done enough.
Yeah.
Go home. Go to bed.
They're the kind of people that this kind of city functions on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. The people who hold things together.
Yeah.
And they spot stuff.
Yeah, walking into a bakery and the lady behind the counter will have a chat and that'll cheer your day up. And,
absolutely. Yeah, it's brilliant. And that's Sheffield in a nutshell.
Yeah, in an office, the cleaner comes round and you have a chat with them.
I bought the wheels fell off my suitcase, which could be a metaphor, a few months ago. And I was down on the moor and like that bit of the outdoor market there was a fella selling suitcases. I was weighing up between going with an 8-wheeler and a 4-wheeler. And we decided that 8-wheelers was just more maintenance, just 4 more wheels to maintain, isn't it? And it was 25 quid and it was a big one. And he said, it's guaranteed for 5 years as well, that is, son. Really? He said, yeah, it's guaranteed 5 years. I said, so are you telling me that if anything malfunctions on this suitcase within the next half a decade, I can bring it straight back to you? And you will replace it like for like. And he went, oh, aye. And he was giggling when he said it. And I just started laughing and said, well, you got a sale. I'll probably never see him ever again in my life. But I'm buying it off him. It was just fun. It's great.
So when you took that suitcase and you've obviously travelled around the world a lot, I know you've just come off a comedy cruise.
Yeah.
But yeah, whilst you've been travelling the world, have you seen anything that's straight out of Sheffield?
Nah, wait. Aren't you straight out of Sheffield?
Straight out of Sheffield. I've travelled and done gigs all over the place with Tom Wrigglesworth. So it's funny because he is so Sheffield, isn't he, Tom? I'm sure he'll be on here soon enough. Yeah, but you just meet people. I was on tour in the spring. I'm on tour again in the autumn. Can't remember where I was, but I just heard the dulcet tones of people over breakfast from Sheffield. And they were talking about walking, climbing, and Sheffield Wednesday over breakfast. And
you sure it wasn't Tom?
It wasn't Tom. No, yeah. And there was no Hendersons available at breakfast.
Yeah, because you have Hendersons on oat.
Everywhere, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a huge lively debate, is it? Because it stands head and shoulders above Worcester sauce.
Yeah.
Because that's got anchovy in it, hasn't it?
Yeah. But do you know, in the US now, Henderson's relish is marketed as Henderson's Worcestershire sauce.
Is it really?
Yeah. They've kicked into that market.
Wow. I wonder where Worcester sauce is standing on that. Because it's a 2-footed challenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really is.
And yes, people see the orange label, Worcestershire sauce, and try Endos instead.
I mean, it's an amazing condiment, isn't it? Because it's absolutely delicious. I can sip, in fairness to Worcester as well, I can sip both of them straight from the bottle.
Yeah.
I can take a shot of them at any point during the day. No problem. Because I'm a bit of a vinegar fiend. Yeah, I couldn't live without vinegar. But it's an amazing condiment, isn't it? Because it kind of exists in a category of one, doesn't it? So much about it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then you taste it, it's perfect.
Yeah, who came up with it in the first place and for what purpose? Because
I mean, a lot of interesting things are fascinating byproducts, aren't they? I mean, Marmite's a byproduct of the brewing industry, isn't it? And I believe Bit of a left turn. Viagra was a product of heart medication, wasn't it?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it was a heart medication. They found everyone got sustained erections as a result. They thought, well, maybe we could use it for that.
Yeah. There's a marketing opportunity in that. As a marketer, I see, yeah, that's perfect opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Even Big Pharma is improvising, isn't it? Which is both terrifying and interesting at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, whether it is terrifying or great. It's just what else are they going to come up with? So you travelled around a lot and you do your shows, as I say, in the Hope Valley and lots of other places, and you've done your show. What is it about Sheffield? What makes Sheffield unique for a comedian for a show?
Good question. It's those sensibilities about the city. I think the audience will always meet you more than halfway, and you don't need to chase after them. You don't need to go in hard, I personally find, because I find there's an inherent wit in Sheffield, and it's warm, and I don't think you need to come in all guns blazing because the audience are absolutely ready to go off on a journey with you. Because I think that's something about Sheffield. Its creative output is way beyond its kind of population, isn't it? Yeah. Whether it's an industry or whether that's heavy industry or the arts industry, it really is. But it doesn't shout about itself massively in the sense that kind of, you know how Yorkshire is very loud. Best county in the world. The biggest county, that's Yorkshire tea, that from the Yorkshire tea plantations. Biggest county in the world, and all that kind of stuff. It's funny, Sheffield, although it's in Yorkshire, doesn't do that in that way. It's interesting. It represents itself kind of in a quite a kind of quiet manner, I think.
Yeah, I posted a short video with Dan Hayes again from last week, and he said very similar, that Sheffield doesn't shout about itself. And the comments amazed me with people saying, well, don't shout about it. We don't want everyone to know this is ours. Which I think is like, that's inherently Sheffield as well. We're so humble and just want to keep like the independence to ourselves and things like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's like when they're talking about the Crucible, like aren't they going to have to do some renovations?
Yeah.
There's no way it's not coming back to the Crucible.
Oh, yeah.
It's snooker, isn't it?
Well, the renovations are for the snooker.
Exactly. It's for the snooker. But it's kind of that, you always hear talk about, I hear it on the commentary or on the TV about, will it stay in Sheffield? Yes. Of course it's there. This players won't go anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. I interviewed Barry Hearn.
Did you?
Like last month or the month before, where the Crucible announcement happened. And I think I was the only social media person invited to that whole launch.
Wow.
I interviewed Barry Hearn and said, was there ever a chance of it not being in Sheffield? He just gave me that cheeky Barry Hearn smile and said, probably not.
Yeah.
I had to do my business dealings and try and get the best deal for myself, kind of thing.
Yeah. There's no way it wouldn't.
Obviously, talking about Tom Wrigglesworth, who we've mentioned a few times, but not really mentioned.
Good friend of mine, absolutely, yeah.
Not really mentioned the context of it. You obviously got a podcast with.
Yeah, we do a podcast as well called The Unlikely Weightlifters. It sort of came about in the sort of lockdown. We started doing it. I ended up building at the end of lockdown an annex in the garden for my mother-in-law, Jean, who's from Sheffield. But my wife grew up in Walkley. And I was worried about my back going while I was doing it. Tom had recently had twins, and he won't mind me doing an impression of him on the podcast. He's very skinny, Tom, very tall man, and he took an NHS online BMI test, James, and it turned out he was medically emaciated. It's absolutely ludicrous. He was like an extra from Tenko. Like, he was really, really, really skinny. And so he took it upon himself to try and, because he kept putting his back out, picking his twins up. And I got a bit of a glass back as well. And we started talking about it. And Tom did a deep dive and decided we needed to do a squat, bench and a deadlift in order to kind of shore up our glass backs. But at the time, weights were really, really expensive. So we ended up building our own weightlifting kits. So I've got one in my garage, built out gardening 4x4 timbers, bolts into the ceiling and floor, and I can pack it away. And Tom built a weightlifting platform on his garden is literally a 1-in-1 hill. And he built what looks like Sheffield's only crucifixion site. It's incredible. It's an insane bit of engineering, and it still works. It's brilliant. And at the time, weights were really expensive. You couldn't get them for love nor money. So we cast our own weights in like builder's buckets, margarine tubs, Quality Street tins, like greased them out like bacon tins and put postcrete in them. And then we used like 2-inch waste piping from Screwfix to take the 2-inch bar. And Tom's were a lot more reinforced and calibrated than mine were. But we basically, as a result of that, we ended up with 2 weightlifting platforms at each other's houses. And then we just started podcasting, shooting the breeze in the rest periods. So we're really out of breath when we're doing them. And there's a slight oxygen depletion in the brain, which makes us go off on quite wonky tangents.
Yeah.
But essentially the podcast is, so it's called The Unlikely Weightlifters, but it only contains, let's say, trace elements of weightlifting.
Yeah.
The early episodes, you hear us building the kind of the contraptions. But it's basically, it's 2 friends talking to each other and making each other laugh and coming up with, just oddball schemes over the course of I think we've done about 90 episodes.
Wow.
And and we try and meet up most weeks and do the weight lift and then just yammer away at each other.
Yeah. I've listened to quite a few of them, and like you say, it's trace elements of actual weightlifting.
Trace elements, yeah. Yeah, you're not going to learn how to be a weightlifter.
Despite your ambition to represent Britain in the 2048 Pontefract Olympics.
That's right, yeah, with the big Pontifract Olympiad, which very few people discuss. Yeah, I mean, it's very much under the carpet at the moment. I think Manchester's made a push as well for 2040 or something like that. So hopefully we still get Pontefract as a result. But we're thinking Tom's weightlifting crucifixion site will be used as a satellite venue, Pontefract 2048.
Is this Hacksaw Ridge?
This is Hacksaw Ridge. But we've had we've had listeners make up T-shirts for the Olympiad and everything. It's incredible. There's also a long-running feature called Pant Cage UK, where we're trying to build up, if we can, James, a picture of the state of the UK's pant cages at branches of TK Maxx up and down the country. And I'm sure most of your listeners understand what a pant cage is, where most of us adults buy our pants or we have them bought for us. In branches of TK Maxx, they have these either 2 or 3 tier stacking systems with boxes of pants proudly displayed, often near the belts or sometimes pajamas. Depends on the shop itself. Could be near homeware. It all depends on what happened at head office. And we monitor the state of the UK's pant cages and how many boxes are kind of been torn open, how many got security tags, that kind of stuff, brands on offer, that kind of thing. And listeners have been submitting both audio and written presentations. So we've got a kind of a network of pant cage journalists across the UK. And me and Tom are on the cusp of making a visit to head office in Watford. Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Well, we intend to not leave until we've been handed a cease and desist order.
But I think for anybody watching or listening, that this bit of the podcast is going completely over their head. This is the podcast.
It will really make sense if you get into the podcast. And we've got male and female pant cage journalists all over the country.
Yeah, it's like, for me, that
doing
podcast,
the vital work.
Like some of my comedy heroes are like Vic and Bob, for instance. And I think there's a DNA of Vic and Bob in you and Tom and Not Podcast.
Well, that's an amazing compliment. If there's an inspiration to Vic and Bob, I just think creatively, they're just mind blowing. They're mind blowing. And I remember as a kid, and I loved a huge, I've been so lucky and the people I've worked with over the course of my, shudder to use the word career. But I kind of, at a time when in my little village, not much else to do other than riding my bike, I had Blackadder, we had Saturday Night Live, we had Fry and Laurie, French and Saunders, Victoria Woods. Before that, the 2 Ronnies, Tommy Cooper, Morecambe and Wise. But then when Vic Reeves arrived, remember the first little trailer for Big Night Out?
Night Out, yeah.
Man in a white suit with a quiff saying, "Watch me, Vic Reeves, Friday night, 9 o'clock, Channel 4. I thought I was there from the start. I just remember, and I've loved every incarnation of what they've done. And they just make the next thing. They just keep making something.
Bob Mortimer has probably had a bit more TV presence than Vic Reeves over recent years.
He's been doing a lot more art, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's kept making.
Yeah, but I think Bob Mortimer's about as close to a national treasure as we get nowadays.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love about them is, and I think this is really important for anyone who's thinking of doing anything creative, is you don't need anyone's permission. Because they came through at a time when TV was probably dominated, and still is to a degree, by people who went to Oxford and Cambridge, whether that's the people on it or the people running it, the people in charge making the decisions. And they just kicked their own door open just by being brilliant, making something in the back room of a pub. And then someone wandered in, couldn't believe what they saw. And yet they ask, they don't conform to anything. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't have to. It's just gold. I just think they're wonderful. Yeah.
I think that was one of my first entries into kind of like that surrealism in comedy, and where, like you say, it doesn't make sense, doesn't have to make sense, but it's still inherently hilarious.
Yeah, Bob's podcast, Athletico Mints, he does with Andy Dawson. There's so many times when I've had to either turn that off in the car or pull over when it was safe and turn it off because it was too funny to drive to. Astonishing. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. And he just keeps making. He makes stuff all the time. And I love that. And I think that's what you need to keep doing.
Yeah, and you talk about TV there, and you mentioned like a couple of things like Blackadder and Saturday Night. And you've dallied with TV yourself quite a bit.
I've been really lucky. Yeah, I've been lucky to work with some amazing people.
A lot of people might not realise just because of the time that's passed, but you were one of the original presenters of Friday Night Project.
That's right. Yeah. Me, Jimmy Carr, and Sharon Horgan. Don't know what happened to those two. We did the first series. Yeah.
So what happened to you out of all that?
Well, we did the first series, and they called us all in, and I remember they said that we're going to go with a different cast each series, and which they then didn't do. I think Alan and Justin did like 6 or 7 series of it, and there's a little part of me was aware at that time. It was a bit like waving. I was on the quayside waving off, the I might never have to work again ship. Waving it off, and but at the same time, it just meant, right, well, what's the next thing? The next thing is those gigs, is stand up, and did other stuff after that. But stand up was where everything's ever come from, and everything in between. And it's what I'll always do, because it's something I have to do rather than I feel I need to do, if that makes sense. I love doing it. It's because it's just a pure kind of form of expression and play. That's how I see it. And I've been lucky that it's little bits have come off it and things, but I've always looked after it, because, look after it like it's a precious little child, because it's looked after me.
When you mentioned Blackadder, it immediately reminded me of Upstart Crow, because it's a very similar kind of concept, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben Elton writing, and what a cast that was as well.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was a profoundly wonderful thing to be involved with, working with David Mitchell and Harry Enfield and Paula Wilcox and Gemma Whelan, Spencer Jones, who's now a really good friend, and Dominic and Steve. It was Helen Monks. It was incredible. Lisa Tarbuck. It was crazy. I remember coming in for like the studio rehearsal on a Monday, because we shoot it on a Tuesday night, and I walked in and Harry Enfield was sat on a chamber pot while they were setting up for a scene, and I walked in and he caught my eye and he said, "Did you have a good weekend, mate? Did you have a big night out or a quiet night in?" In the style of, Dave Nice. And I couldn't believe it. I just thought it was ludicrous.
I remember when it first got announced, seeing the cast list, and I was like, this is going to be incredible. Written by Ben Elton. It's got David Mitchell. It's got Rob Rouse. And I couldn't believe
I got the part either. And it's really interesting, because after sort of Friday Night Project, I did a couple of other bits. I did a sitcom called Grown Ups on BBC 3, and I didn't do the second series. And I remember saying to my agent at the time, "Don't really want to do the second series. Don't feel quite right, but I'm worried if I don't do it, phone will stop ringing." She said, "Don't worry, phone will stop ringing." And so I didn't do it, and the phone didn't ring at all for, I'd say, a decade. And then eventually over a decade, and then this random casting came in for Bottom. I remember reading it, and it was the line where he says, he was talking about having a boy playing Juliet. What if his balls drop in the middle of the balcony scene? And it was everything I remember thinking about Shakespeare as a kid. And that's why it's great writing. Why I couldn't understand it. Why did he use 1,000 words when he could have used 3? No one's going to believe that. What, they look vaguely the same? Are you expecting the audience to follow that as a premise? Well, good luck, mate.
Yeah.
And I remember I read it and I just thought, oh, this is how I felt when I didn't understand Shakespeare, how Bottom feels now. So I remember really, really learning the lines as hard as I could, wrote them all out 1,000 times so I didn't have to try and recall them. And I went in got the train down to London, did the casting, and I unbelievably got it. And then I remember when we had the first read, I was just making a cup of coffee, really nervous in the room, and everyone was in there. And Ben Elton just sidled up to me, grabbed me by the elbow and just said, the minute I saw you, I thought, that's my Bottom. thank you for doing this. I'm delighted. And I sat down and started doing it. And I felt really lucky. And I also remember thinking, that's castings, isn't it? You just weren't the right person for those other things that popped up. Or in this case, someone decided you were the right person.
Yeah. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah. So just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, because you don't know how often these things are going to happen. You might never do anything like this ever again. So enjoy it.
So for anyone who's not seen Upstart Crow, it's essentially a Ben Elton written comedy in the vein of Blackadder.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I suppose it's a similar era, isn't it? Because it's the 1600s. And it's about David Mitchell plays Shakespeare before he makes it big.
Yeah.
So it's perfect because in a classic British sitcom, in that he's essentially like in the middle classes, isn't he? And it's aspirational. He wants to make it. He wants to be accepted by broader society. But his life is firmly entrenched in kind of agricultural Warwickshire. And he's got, albeit, but he's in that, he's trapped like Blackadder in the middle. He's got a manservant. That's me, Bottom. And Kate, a young, who works in his household. And she aspires to be an actor, but is trying to be an actor in a time when all the parts are played by men. And she's trying to convince Shakespeare to cast her and stuff. And she also, like, bit like Secret Squirrel, she always solves the problems for him, or somehow provides the solution. And it's great. And he's got his nemesis, Robert Greene, played by Mark Heap.
Great part.
Who is just spectacular human being to spend time. He's so funny.
Yeah, I've not seen him in anything where he's dropped the ball. He is incredible in everything.
He made me cry with laughter so many times, like in rehearsals. Just a hilarious man. And it was a real treat to do. And it came along at an amazing point in my life. Like really lucky to have done it. It meant some time away down in London, but the family came down and the kids came to stay in London, and they kind of, so we did all the touristy things with them when we were there. And my daughter's just now doing this exchange between German and English schools, come through her school where she is in the Oak Valley. Amazing. And she's been ringing me from London, telling me how much she's loving being there. And that when she first was there, when she was little, she was a bit overwhelmed by it. It was a bit big. But now she kind of thinks it's brilliant. She's excited to be there and see it. And it's just, maybe, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
It's amazing, isn't it? Seeing the world through young eyes, being like a parent or whatever, and coming from, like you say, one of the world's biggest villages.
Yeah.
Which, although Sheffield's still fairly big, it still feels small, doesn't it? And then you go to somewhere like London and you see through their eyes.
We live just on the edge in the Hope Valley, but it's been amazing for just the kids to be able to get a train into the city. It's been amazing for my son. Like, he's a drummer, he's a musician. And that's what he wants to do with his life. I'm so excited. So cool. But he's been able to access the music scene in Sheffield so brilliantly. And there's a great music scene. And he's been to jazz jams at Hagler's Corner and he does them as well. And there's just a brilliant scene and really supportive and helpful.
So is his musical inspiration killing in a name by yourself and your wife on your podcast?
It's in the DNA. Yeah, me and Helen's date night podcast. I mean, again, I think that was probably one of the first podcasts where a couple did it, shy of Richard and Judy. But we did a date night podcast. There's about 80 odd episodes of that where we just try and have fun and then turn it into a podcast. And we did a Christmas charity single where we did a cover of Killing in the Name, where I think Helen gave one of the best vocal performances, I think, of all time.
It's
rock and roll history is devastating, isn't it?
It gets better as it goes along.
It really does. Now she's a children's author. She doesn't like to cross the streams on that, and I understand that. But I think it stands up as a piece of art in its own right. Just don't play it to your kids.
Helen, becoming a children's author, is that the reason why the podcast kind of stopped?
No, I mean, not really. We did it, and we just got to a point where life, like, we were able to do it really when the kids were really young, because they'd both be at school and we could do something. And then I think you just go through waves of stuff, don't you? And then the kids get older, they need you in a different way. In many ways, like, they need you for less time, but it's different time, isn't it? They need you for different things. And and probably like just internally you go, I think we've done that one. What's the next thing we're going to do?
You did a couple of Edinburgh shows as well.
Yeah, we did Edinburgh shows together as well. And I think the second one we did called Funny in Real Life, I think was one of the best shows I've ever been in. of any sort. And it was amazing to do it with Helen and with the family in tow, because Edinburgh is an absolute behemoth of a thing to go and do. And we've realised the only way we can really do it, because it's so expensive, is to do a house swap with a family in Edinburgh. So that means we can only do the first 2 weeks of the festival, but then we can all go up. We're not torn apart by this, desire to do it. And the kids love going up. And we got to do a show about, the premise was, it was on at 11:15 in the morning. And I thought I'd booked it for 11:15 at night, but I didn't have my reading glasses on. So I was on the back foot. And it's quite an earthy show about the birth of the kids. And the premise is that, and the audience don't realise at that point that Helen's actually in the audience. So I'm telling stories about the birth and stuff. And then this voice starts chipping in from the audience. And every morning, it would go differently, and people would start telling Helen to shut up, and she'd start having rows with people. So, and then there was one day when Jade Adams was in the audience as a comic, and she said, "You shut up. He's trying to do his show, babe. He's trying to do his show." And Helen's got, "It's about me. I've got, got an opinion on all this." She's not Cuddles the monkey, but it's just an impression to do with her. They sound a bit like Cuddles the monkey. And then she kind of, then I get them. I was trying to deal with it from the stage, and then we get the lights up and go, oh, it's Helen, and this is who it's all about. We've managed to get childcare, great. And then she wouldn't stop, and I had to throw her out, and then she'd come back in, and then the acts 2 and 3 are basically this huge kind of funny, protracted argument about whose stories they are to tell on stage, and I think it's the best thing I've ever been in. It was the show that by the last day we were completely sold out, and all the comics came to see it.
Oh, brilliant.
It was nuts. And I think that's something, I mean, she's such a creative person, Helen. And I think that she's also got a really good barometer for, that's done. Let's do something else. Let's challenge ourselves and do something else. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and she's now a kid's author, and she wrote the first book called The Boy Who Made Everyone Laugh, basically about a little boy with a stammer. And it's loosely based on our son, who has a stammer that it has never defined him. He owns it entirely, and it's never stopped him doing anything. And he's such a brilliant young man, and he's an incredible musician. And I can't wait to see what he gets up to as he goes out into the world doing it. But Helen wrote this story about a little boy with a stammer who wanted to be a comedian, but thought he couldn't till he lost the stammer, or he could get over the stammer. She, again, like Vic and Bob, no permission, no contacts in publishing, no one that she knows in the industry. And she just wrote this story, sent it out to hundreds of agents and publishers, and got loads of rejections, loads of thank you, but no thank you. And then eventually, boop, this lady rang her and said, I've just read it in the back garden, and I couldn't put it down, crying and laughing all the way through. Can you come down and have a meeting with me? And the rest, as they say, is history. And she's doing incredibly with it. It's brilliant. She's on book 7, and she's done 2 other books for kids that really struggle with reading for another publisher, like these smaller books. And she's set up this, there's a thing she's got on her website. I'm going to plug it, Helen Rutter.
Yeah, go.
.com, and she's got this thing called the Mind Wanderers, which are these kind of, and also a snail mail version of it, which basically a kids' writing club, where she sends them these beautiful handmade cardboard suitcases full of props and ideas and writing prompts and challenges, and then a similar thing in an envelope, a snail mail version, which just to try and keep kids writing. Keeping kids reading is hard enough. Keeping them writing is even harder. But the responses she gets from the people who've got them have been fantastic. And it's a brilliant thing. And I, just getting our kids and all of us off screens and just giving them an alternative. Because that's the battle, really. Like, you're fighting against a machine which is monetized to our attention. So you've got to offer them, we've got to offer ourselves an alternative, to it. And I think that's sort of the rub of modern life, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that's incredible. Like you say, kids are on the screens all the time now, and you kind of almost see the creativity drain out of them over the years.
Yeah, well, adults, we're on our screens a lot all the time as well, aren't they? And kids can only ever exist in the world that they're in, and it's hard. And for all of us to, and all the things that we can probably feel inside, that this isn't good for us, this is bad for our happiness, and that, granted, there are some good elements, but I think you've got to look at the facts, aren't they? That the people who make this stuff don't let their kids on it. Steve Jobs didn't let his kids have iPads. The people at, Instagram don't let their kids have Instagram. Or that I've seen a few things with the boss of it saying, Now it's really monitored, but like for an hour at the weekends. And then everyone else, schools included, have gone, there it is, work that out. And it's mad. Everything is tied into it. It's ingrained in it, isn't it? Or, you know, and lockdown was really hard because our kids were forced onto screens. And then so many things have stayed there, whether it's online parents' evenings or online lessons or, you know, apps that they've got to do their homework on. And it means like sometimes you think, just print some sheets out on the old band printer. Yeah. Give them a chance to be outside or whatever, you know.
And, you know, for kids as well, go out and meet your mates.
Yeah. And what an amazing city Sheffield is for being out in. It's so green. Isn't there more trees? It's the most tree-populated city in, I think, Britain.
I think it's Europe.
Something like that.
But there's a technicality where it counts the trees in the Peak District part of Sheffield as well.
Right, yeah. So, but, you know, big part of Sheffield is going, right, well, we can have all of that.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all Sheffield.
So any plans for Edinburgh this year? Or
I'm not going this year because I toured in the spring and I'm touring again in the autumn. All the dates are on sale at robrouse.com.
This is Funny Bones?
That's Funny Bones, yeah. Part 2, the second leg. Because I got halfway through the first leg and thought, this is so much fun. Thought, why am I only doing like March and April? And I was listening to, albeit, you know, much bigger comedian than I was listening to Stuart Lee, who was saying he tours for about a year and a half. And I thought, I should do some more dates. Just that thought of kind of, why am I not? It's because I've not gone, I should do. So I thought I should just do another leg. So
yeah, I missed Funny Bones because it's, for people watching and listening that don't know, the incredible lineups that Rob gets at his Comedy Village shows, he will always release them to the people in the room the month before.
Yeah, and there's a mailing list as well. Yeah, to try and like just because you always want new people coming in, and you always want to kind of to look after people who have supported you as well.
But that one for your Funny Bones night, you put them on sale, and I couldn't get tickets quick enough.
I was absolutely. We sold 400 tickets, and I couldn't believe it. It was just like everyone who'd been to the Comedy Village said, "Well done, son. We'll come and cheer you on." And it was lovely. It was like a party. But really, look, it was quite emotional.
Again, it speaks to a testament of that community feel of these venues.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah, Crookes Social Club and all of these village halls. You know, just whether it's Hathersidge Memorial Hall, Aswell Village Hall, name check. Im Mechanics, name check. Bradwell Memorial Hall, name check. Dronfield Civic Hall, check. They're all run. And Buxton Working Men's Club, check. They're all run by brilliant people who kind of do this. You know, there's so much love goes into these things, and I love that about it's local venues. They're just people run them, and they don't have to work as hard as they do, but they do because they love it, and they know that if you lose it, like kind of before you know, it's a car park, isn't it? Or
Pubs and social clubs are closing down dime a dozen.
Yeah,
you know, like I think Morris at Crookes has done such an amazing job in diversifying and getting a lot more different things.
Yeah.
And what a personality he is as well.
Incredible, a force of nature. But he understands what that club means. So when we've got, like, we might have 400 people in the main house for a comedy show. Next door, there might be 150 people at a Dungeons and Dragons meeting. In the back room, there might be karate at the same time with the kids. Outside is Bowls Club. Tomorrow, it's a Cayley or maybe a white collar boxing event, or it could be Get Down Services playing a sold out gig, or a wake. It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. It all happens there. Yeah, it's a unique and brilliant kind of.
Leadmill are promoting big gigs there as well now.
Yeah.
So Tom Rowley there a little while ago. So We Are Scientists there last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was chatting to a guy from Future Sound who does the gigs in there. Yeah. We went to see White Denim in there. It was incredible. And everyone has to go for a piss in the communal bogs. Although that said, I've never washed my face in the backstage sink. And to this day, I won't.
I wonder why.
I've said to Morris though, and I'll say this publicly on the podcast, that I've learned building because I built my mother-in-law in Annex, inspired by me mate Pete, who's a brilliant local builder from Sheffield, and he basically taught me how to build. A really patient man, spirit of Sheffield. And I've said to Morris, if he can get 4-inch soil pipe up into that back corner of the dressing room, I will happily build a backstage shitter and shower.
Well, Morris is open to all these ideas.
Yeah. So I'm calling out, Morris. If you can get that 4-inch soil pipe up to the floor, I will build the backstage bathrooms.
One of the things that we do in this podcast at the end is just to get recommendations.
Sure.
And we want to compile a big, massive list of where people love to go. So this is Rob Rouse's REYT Good Recommendations.
I'll do my best.
REYT Good Recommendations.
So, Rob, what is your best pub or cafe?
So can I say Crookes Social Club?
Of course.
Because it's a very reasonably priced bar. They have a really nice range of ales, wines, etc. on there, and soft drinks, and a good range of not alcohol-free ones if you need them as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very friendly place to go and have a drink and support your local social clubs. And it's such a warm and welcoming place. So I'm going to say Crookes Social Club. You go for a drink and then see what's on.
Yeah.
And then you'll be friends for life.
It's, again, the community of being around there.
Yeah.
It's old school. It's like, I used to live near the Dial House Club over Hillsborough Way, and that was a favourite place to go.
Yeah.
And it's like stepping back into that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know you're somewhere interesting when you're there. Yeah.
And they have Alpaca Lips as a beer on the bar,
There you go.
which I can't not buy that just for the pun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So your best place to eat, best restaurant, cafe, whatever?
I went to a really nice place. Again, big Crook shout out, called No Name.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
Brilliant, isn't it? It's bring your own booze, and I just thought it was delicious. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It books up really far in advance as well,
Yeah.
generally. So it's quite popular. But it's bespoke menus virtually every night, I think.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you feel a bit like it's a bit like having a really nice dinner in someone's front room.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
a
it?
tiny place.
Yeah, it's really tiny. Yeah, but it's just lovely. The toilet is a work of art,
Yeah.
isn't it? Pinks and
Mm.
black and white. And is it flamingos in there? I can't remember. It's incredible. And the food was just amazing, really amazing. And it was really unpretentious, really lovely, and incredible food. So I'm going to go with No Name in Crookes.
Yeah, love that. It was
Yeah.
a great recommendation. And your best independent shop?
Best independent shop. Now, I discussed this with my dear lady wife partner, Helen, before I left, and she said I couldn't mention this. But I'm going to go with Atkinson's
Yeah.
department store, because it is independent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And it's its own thing. And there's something, it feels timeless.
Yeah.
And maybe, and I mean this with nothing but love and respect, quite a few years behind the times whilst being timeless.
Yeah.
It's a minimum. It's got an incredible car park for accessing the city centre. I think on the upper floors, you could definitely shoot a remake of Michael Mann's Heat on the car park. So it's got that going for it as a filming location. You can buy some incredible bargains in there. And you also can marvel at how expensive some of the furniture is.
Yeah.
Look at the
It's
armchair.
got
and go,
everything.
what? $2,500 for an armchair? And that armchair must have been there on sale for at least 10 years. But it stood the test of time. Whilst BHS has fallen, so many shops have fallen around it, but Atkinson stands. It survived the Blitz, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
So it survived so many things. It survived Meadowhall, hasn't it?
Which is a big thing, yeah.
Which is a massive thing. I personally find Meadowhall too big and overwhelming. And again, one of those kind of human things where it's just so obvious. Why are our city centres failing? Because we keep building these massive out-of-town shopping centres that are too big and disorientated anyway. And then we wonder why the town centres crumble.
Yeah. I love Atkinson's as a suggestion
It's
for
incredible,
this.
isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a cafe downstairs.
It is literally...
You can have a bra fitted. You can get a proper bra fitting. I'm sure they do shoes in whip fittings as well.
Yeah.
Very conveniently placed, well-maintained lavatory for everyone, which often by the time you're doing shopping, you do need a wee. You get to a certain age where the various valves and sphincters in our body, they're not as strong as they used to be.
I use it as an excuse to go to a pub.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, Atkinson's is great. It is an independently run place. And it is every objection you see about Sheffield City Centre, people not going to Sheffield City Centre anymore, it's the answer to that objection.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's got the car park. Everyone says you can't park anywhere.
Can in Atkinson's.
Yeah. There's no department stores. It's there.
Yeah, can in Atkinson's.
Yeah, the cafe's
Yeah.
good.
The animatronic Christmas displays are worth the entry fee alone.
Yeah.
for you don't need to drop an acid tab. Just go to Atkinson's near Christmas and see or watch the singing reindeers and penguins.
Brilliant. So that links to the next one. That might be your favourite thing to do, but what's your favourite thing to do in Sheffield?
Favourite thing to do in Sheffield? I would go back to just talking to people.
Yeah.
Yammering with whoever you are, wherever you are. That's what my favourite thing to do in Sheffield is to have fun in Sheffield and just open yourself up to it.
Yeah.
I think that would be it.
Yeah, I think Sheffield is just great for that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If you think you're coming here and not getting down to the nitty gritty of life, sunshine, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah, but I get like some people like don't want to overshare or whatever, but I love that.
Yeah, well, I think it treads that line. It's not oversharing. It's a genuine interest in how you're doing.
Yeah, and I think any town or city can be judged on whether it's okay to say thanks to a bus driver as you're getting off.
Yeah.
So that's
well, if that driver has called you duck, I think a thank you is implicit in that, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And then so after all these things, which are all amazing suggestions, what's your favourite Sheffield hidden gem?
Hidden gems. We went to a cafe called the Hidden Gem, which is not far from High Stores School, from the Peak District end of Ringinglow. You hang a left off Ringinglow Road. It's called the Hidden Gem Cafe. And we took my mother-in-law, Jean, who lives in the garden, not free range. She's in an annex that I built, which I told you about, although she is free to roam the garden as she sees fit. But we took her there for her birthday. Went for a kind of a lunchy breakfast. I don't know whether it was actually a brunch officially. I don't know what makes a brunch, but it was absolutely brilliant. Really, really delicious. Really lovely venue. It's all part of a charity that helps people with various disabilities work, and it's brilliant. And so it was a lovely place to go to. Really nice atmosphere and a great organisation doing brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I go there quite a bit.
It's great, isn't it?
The food is incredible.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
like
really, really good.
Breakfast bagel or something, but don't ever not look at the specials. The specials change daily.
Yes.
And they are incredible.
Yes, yeah. I think one of us might have had, I never get it right, shakshuka? Is it like Turkish eggs?
Shakshuka, I think.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Really great. And all locally sourced ingredients, high-end stuff, really friendly, great coffee, great people doing great stuff.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And so just to finish off, just because you've reminded me and I kind of teased it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we've not discussed it, and you mentioned garden. Your garden, during lockdown, you managed to have some running feature on TalkSport, of all places, of racing chickens.
Yeah, we're talking about chicken race TV. Now, there was a period in the lockdown when there was no sport at all being played or being watched. I had 6 chickens in the back garden laying eggs on a daily basis, and found that they were chasing me around the garden when I'd bring the food out. Therein, the sport of chicken racing was born. And we had 6 chickens. We had Goldie, who was the fastest chicken I think that's ever lived. Twinkle Twinkle. Janet McFeathers, who never ever won a race, but did eat a mouse live on TalkSport. Which was a hell of a moment. We had Bob, our non-binary chicken, the boss, and have I said Twinkle Twinkle? I think I might have done. That's either 5 or 6. I can't remember. Anyway, but at 5 o'clock every day, at the same time they were reading out the COVID figures on the news, I would put on social media the chicken race from the garden. At that point, there was no live sport on the radio. Charlie Baker and Max Rushton from TalkSport got in touch with me, asked if they could get the contract to put chicken racing live on TalkSport. We negotiated the contract. Don't think any money was involved, and I ran them a hard deal. And before we knew it, we were racing them live every Saturday morning. It's ludicrous on TalkSport with Rupert Bell, the legendary horse racing analyst and commentator, doing the runners and riders for each race. And it would be fair to say we absolutely cleaved the TalkSport listenership into 2 camps. There were people who thought chicken racing was the greatest thing that had ever been on the Sports Talks radio station about talking about sports. And there were people who were absolutely horrified by the very premise. And therein lied the rub of it. And we raced throughout lockdown. And then there was a period where sports started to open up. There was a big tussle between us and the resurgence of the Premiership. And we held our own for as long as we could. And then eventually we had to be cut loose because the sports roster got too full. But it was an incredible time. It was an incredible time to be racing chickens live.
Yeah,
on TalkSport.
I just love the fact that the only sport being broadcast live in this country
was chicken racing
in your backyard.
And it was such and this is no pun, it was such a fledgling sport at the time. It was we were still wrapping our heads around what it was about, what it all meant. But how could we have known it? It got so big so fast and then imploded.
I'm not sure it'll make a category in the Pontifract 2048, but
it was certainly it would be part of the opening ceremonies.
Yeah,
definitely.
If you carry on your podcast until then, you have to do that.
We have to, yeah, we will do.
Brilliant. Well, Rob, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
An amazing chat.
Brilliant.
And
bless you.
I'll just leave the floor to you if you want to plug your gigs or whatever you want to.
Well, it's very kind. I really appreciate you having me on. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I love being a member of the Sheffield Village, and it's a wonderful place. And come along to the Comedy Village. Go to thecomedyvillage.com. I only ever put like the next month's shows on sale at any one time, just to kind of give everyone a fair chance of getting the tickets. Or I'm just too disorganised, but they're all on there, comedyvillage.com, and all of my dates are at robrouse.com. And there's all the various social media channels for them all, which I know that you will find.
Yeah, and to get those tickets, the best way is to join a mailing list.
Join the mailing list, like for everything. Yeah, that's always the best way. Like become part of the village within the village.
Yeah. Rob Rouse, thank you.
Absolute pleasure, James. Like anytime.